Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by Boxing Hall of Famer and world-class friend Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
Good, Ken. Not as good as you. I haven't gotten my daily haircut yet. But you look great. You look great as always.
I'm very insecure. Being on the camera makes me think, man, I gotta do everything I can not to look terrible, which is a full-time job.
No, you would have to do everything you can to look terrible. To be honest, you look great, and nobody would ever know how insecure you are, except that you just told them.
Yep.
Other than that, they never know. But no, well, you're great. And you look great, and you have a great family, and hopefully everybody's happy and healthy, and they're letting you do this. They're out of the house, quiet.
Yep.
You got a good family.
I'm the luckiest person in the world, honestly, truth be told, and I'm honored to be doing this with you. You're a great friend, and thank you for all the kind words.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Let's talk about boxing.
Let's talk about a sport that's not always kind to you.
That's right.
But a sport that can be great and bring greatness out in people. And from there, I think that's a good segue for you to start.
Yep. Speaking of greatness, let's talk about one of the greatest at any weight, and that's Vasiliy Lomachenko. Rebounds with a huge win against the Japanese fighter Nakatani. I mean, it would be hard for Loma to look any better than he did against the come-forward, hard-punching Japanese fighter. I mean, Nakatani brings it. He gave Lopez all kinds of trouble, and I think Loma viewed it as an opportunity to get everyone's attention by dispatching Nakatani as quickly as he could and looking good against him, and he did just that. He put it on him, beat him up real good, stopped him. What'd you think there? How'd you think Loma looked?
Yeah, listen, I don't think he could look better. I mean,
I agree.
That's the way you come back. I mean, that's really the way you come back. And I told Rob to get this up, and I know, Rob, I have this up, but he was exactly what Arnold Schwarzenegger, when Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie, the first one, The Terminator, that famous line, I mean, I'm back. I mean, that's... I'm back. Lomachenko did it as good as Arnold. He did it as good as Arnold, maybe better than Arnold, because after all, Arnold was play acting. So it's a little easier. He's back to, that famous line, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. Well, Loma has a little bit of a Ukrainian accent, and... not an Austrian accent, but he couldn't have made a more emphatic statement of being back. He took him apart piece by piece. Vintage Lomachenko. What makes Lomachenko so great is he puts pressure on you at all times, defensively and offensively. Not too many fighters can do that. Defensively, where he's making you miss, he frustrates you. He makes you feel pressure because you feel like you can't keep him off you. He starts to drain the oxygen from the room, from the ring. You're missing him. You just can't control him. He becomes this force, and then the offense comes too. And so you got to face both the pressure defensively that he applies and offensively that it sets up, and the angles that he gives. Oh my God! I mean, it was just
that to me
beautiful.
Was one of the highlights, Teddy. The way he would get off on an angle, step around him. He had the guy literally guessing where was he. It was like a magician in there. Oh, I'm over here now. I'm over here.
Just beautiful. Exactly, Ken. And not only that, but he used the angles to his advantage for different punches. He made one move early where he got to the side, and then it looked like he was going to hit him with the punch you would expect on that side, and he hits him with the other hand. Oh boy. And and then the way he finished. He gets an angle again. He doesn't just land the punch like I always talk about. It's about having a setup. It's about having a delivery system, about being smart, being able to land the punch. And boy, was he smart. Boy, is he technically solid. boy, is he difficult to deal with. Boy, is he fun to watch. When he's on, he was on. And at the end, what does he do? He's thinking. He's very cerebral, as well as being athletic and all the other things that he's doing and technical. But what does he do? He gets a beautiful angle for the punch, and then he adapts himself. He adjusted himself, because all night long he was popping the left hand. Not power, but he was popping the left hand, a straight left hand, where it closed his opponent's eyes. It closed Nakatani's eye from those left hands, straight left hands, popping. But now it was time to close the show, and he knew it. And his father knew it in the corner, I'm sure. I'm sure he told him. And because his father is terrific too. He's the professor there. And what does he do at the end? He positions himself off an angle to be in a more of a power position of a left hook, more of a power slot, for the left hook rather than straight left hand. And what's he do? Even though he's a southpaw, he gets adjusted into that position for more of a left hook where he could generate more power to close the show. And he closed the show. He drops him and finishes him with that punch off that angle all night long. Just mesmerizing, spectacular. He brought the curtain down like you would on a Broadway show, where everybody would get up and just applaud, because there's nothing else to do but to applaud what you're watching and the magnificence of what you're watching. And what makes him so great, and what makes anybody great at what they do, is when they make it look easy. When they do something so difficult, Ken, and they make it look so easy. I would say to the young people, don't try it at home. Don't try that at home. It's not as easy as it looks, although you should be taught the right things like he's taught. But there's not a lot of teachers out there to do that, to be quite frank. Just tremendous. And I tell you, if anybody doubts who he beat too, because there's always doubters out there, there's always haters out there. Maybe two of the judges were haters. I don't know. I don't know how they gave a couple rounds to Nakatani. Nakatani was game all night. I applaud him.
Yeah,
I applaud
he's
him.
a tough guy.
I
no
applaud
doubt.
him for his gameness. But I don't know how some judges gave him 2 rounds. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I never know with these judges. I never know. But from the beginning, it was a contest early on. It was a no contest pretty fast. But the thing you got worried about was the headbutt. And that's another thing. You talk about professionalism. Here he comes back, in his biggest moment of his life. Really. I mean, I know winning the title, and he's 2-time Olympian gold medalist, and he's a 3 division champion. This arguably, Ken, was the biggest moment of his life, because he was fighting for his legacy. He was fighting for his legacy, for his life. He really was. Because a lot of people had doubt about him after he lost to the very talented and young Teofimo Lopez. Very talented and young. And you know what? I want to take 1 second to send out there. I know he listens to our show, and we're blessed that so many people in boxing listen to our show and in MMA. And we are blessed, and we're appreciative, and we always are. And we understand that privilege. And it means a lot. We respect that. But I want to take time to wish him well and send our prayers and thoughts, because he got COVID. He got the COVID virus, Teofimo, and they had to cancel his fight. And then from what I understand, Ken, they moved the date that they changed back again. And I'm sure obviously it's related to him dealing with being sick with the COVID. So we just pray that he's getting better, and that he's gonna win his fight with that virus. He's a fighter. He's a champion. So that's all. I wanted to take 1 minute to just send my thoughts and prayers to Teofimo Lopez, who I think is a terrific person. I know sometimes he's brash, he's young, but he beat maybe the best fighter in the world, and sometimes that can make you a little brash. But also sometimes it can be just to kind of promote yourself, and you don't know a person till you know a person privately. And I got a chance to talk to Teofimo Lopez not too long ago out in Vegas. Just happened to run. I was out there visiting my son, and I just happened to run into him because he lives in the complex where my son does out in Vegas, in a nice place there. And my son, of course, works for the Raiders. And we had a conversation, and all I can tell you out there, you can make your decision on how you feel about him, how he represents himself, how he fights in the ring, all of that. But he's a terrific young man. He is. He's a smart, good young man. And I just hope he gets better. Enough said about that. Back to Loma. Loma, as I was saying, he, first of all, from the beginning, it looked like a contest of Nakatani was looking to land the right hand, from the orthodox position. He's tall, he's long, he's going to use the jab to set it up. Probably should have tried to fight long a little more, but he couldn't because Loma has an answer to that. He knows how to slip past the long punch and get in. So there was nothing really he was capable of doing to handle Loma that night. There just wasn't. And he had all the heart in the world, but he was looking to land the right hand. Loma was looking to land the left. Loma won. Loma won that contest. And he, as I said, he was popping him with the left, and then at the end he made an adjustment. He got one of those angles, and he said, let me turn it into more of a left hook power punch and get this over with. And for people that, again, want to be haters out there and want to question Nakatani, well, he's the first guy to go 12 rounds with Teofimo Lopez, who, of course, is the champion now, and a tremendous talent. So he's the first person to do that. And then he came off the floor to knock out Felix Fideo, who at the time was one of Top Rank's top prospects and a former Olympian. So, and Fideo, look, he's a horrible, I don't want to get into it, but I guess if I mention his name, I need to touch on that he's been accused of I don't even want to talk about it. It's just a horrible crime. Obviously, his career's over. But he was an Olympian. He was a prospect for Top Rank that had a lot of, promise for him. And what's he do? He gets off the floor, Nakatani, he knocks him out. So he took apart a good fighter, a pretty good, solid fighter. And boy, oh boy, I have to also say that, and we're going to get to it. And we're going to handle it by itself, that each fight deserves to be handled by themselves. But I'm going to say something nobody's going to expect out of my mouth. Him and the guy I'm about to mention remind me of each other a little bit that night. Tank Davis was as spectacular that night. They were on different networks. You had to jump around if you're going to see them, or you have to do that thing called taping or whatever they call it with that machine you have that does it. What's the name of that machine? TiVo?
TiVo.
Oh,
back
TiVo.
in the day,
TiVo. Okay.
Now we call it the DVR.
Oh, DVR. Okay, I think I know what that is. And so I drive my kids crazy. Switch me. Okay, switching you.
I can just imagine. I can just imagine Nicole and Elaine trying to keep up with all your demands.
Switch me back. Switch me over. Beam me up, Scotty. So I'm all over the place. So thank God I have a good family like you, and really, thank God.
Hey guys, quick break to give a shout out to one of our newest sponsor and my new favorite cereal, Magic Spoon. You guys got to check this stuff out. I mean, I used to love eating cereal, but obviously as I'm getting old now, I don't eat as much junk food as I would do normally, processed sugary food. Enter Magic Spoon to save the day for me, but more importantly, save the day for my kids, because I used to not let them eat sugary cereals, but now I've got them on the Magic Spoon. They can have as much as they want with 0 sugar, 4 net grams of carbs, and 14 grams of protein in every serving. It's almost too good to be true. Only 140 calories. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. Try the variety pack, cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. I love this stuff. If you go to magicspoon.com/Atlas, you can pick up the variety pack and get $5 off your first order. Again, magicspoon.com/Atlas for $5 off your first order on the variety pack. Check them out. This stuff is really good. Guys, also want to take a minute to give a shout out to privacy.com. Privacy.com lets you buy things online or send money using a virtual card instead of having to use your real credit card or debit cards. If you've ever had your credit card number stolen, which I've had happen to me multiple times, it's inevitable when you're buying things online that someone's going to get either hack into your credit card number, but I've had it happen to me and it's a painful experience. Try privacy.com. It's free to use. It allows you to track all your online purchases in one place, and you can get 1% cash back on all purchases with the Pro service. If you'd like to give it a try, head over to privacy.com/Atlas, and you'll automatically get $5 to spend on your first purchase if you sign up now. Again, free to use, so check them out. It's a great service, and by signing up, you're also helping the podcast. Head over to privacy.com/Atlas, again, ATLAS, to try this free service and get $5 to spend on your first purchase.
So, Tank Davis was spectacular. We're going to get into him when we talk about him, but they reminded me a little bit of each other. I know Tank's more explosive punch, I get it. But man, oh man, you watch those fights and you tell me that they don't remind you of some of the things they do, how quick they can close a gap, how smart they are. Tank doesn't get enough credit for that. Loma does, but Tank doesn't get nearly enough credit for that. How smart they are, how elusive they are, how, oh my goodness, how they create openings. Very similar, except that Tank's, more of a natural puncher, but very similar. Oh, God. I just, since I touched on it, that's another fight we're never going to see. I would love to see that fight. I know.
I'll pay $500 for pay-per-view to see Tank fight Loma.
Oh, my God, Ken.
I'm telling them right now. Leonard, are you listening? Leonard Ellerby, $500, any price. Make that fight, please.
Yeah, I mean, really,
please.
Ken. I think you're speaking.
I know Loma will do it probably for free.
I think we're speaking to the masses now that I can't see anyone disagreeing out there. I mean, listen, I understand Tank Davis moved up to 140. And maybe he needed to. He was struggling at 135. I don't know if he could make 135 for that kind of fight. I don't know. But anymore. But if he could, because Loma's not going up because he's already gone up 3 weight classes. He can't go up anymore. But if they could, wow. Anyway, I won't pay $500, but I'll go to Ken's. I'll pay for the flight. I'll pay for the flight to fly out to Ken to watch it with Ken. Man, oh man. But anyway, getting back to just pure Loma, he was just Loma. He was Loma. That's Loma at his best, and he was like the Terminator. I talked about the I'm back. Well, he also behaved and performed like the Terminator. Just didn't waste anything, breaking the guy down, taking him apart, piece by piece. And there was one difference. I got to put this in there. That's why I make notes. I have 40 pages in front of me of notes. So I'm insane. I am. They call that insanity in some places. But I saw a difference in Loma. Yeah, the same elusiveness, the angles, all that stuff, but a little difference. Ken, tell me if you saw this too. He was more ferocious. He was more vicious. He was lazy. I know he's always, there. I get it. That's his life. But there was a different Loma. I mean, again, he knew what was on the line. He knew that his legacy.
I think it was the best, as good as he's ever looked.
I agree, but
he was like killer from the
that's
the
the killer. See, that's the thing. He's always great, and he's always focused, and he's always serious. But this was a different Loma, and again, there's a reason for it because everything he's done in the past was kind of up for sale. Yeah, I hate to say it, but the way people judge things nowadays. He loses to Teofimo and then he comes back. This fight, really, everything was on the line for him. Everything. And that's why I saw a different Loma. I saw I'll use the same words, a more ferocious, a more vicious, that's proper to use in this kind of way, in a controlled way. Just a more of a killer, a killer instinct kind of guy. He was always a good finisher, but in the Campbell fight, he kind of let Campbell survive at the end. I thought he might have been able to finish him, and that was over across the pond with the people we love over there. But in this fight, he wasn't letting this guy survive. He wasn't letting him survive. I've seen him in fights where his father and him, I think they say, hey, look, you got the fight in the bag. Don't get careless now. Be smart. Take it home. Just take it home. No, not this time. This time was different. I think they went there to make a statement, and to destroy somebody and to take somebody out in a smart way, the way they always do it, but to take somebody out. He had that, I hate to get corny and say eye of the tiger, but, with the Rocky stuff references. But let me tell you, he had something different where, like, he went in there in a different way. Like, I'm going to destroy this guy. I'm gonna knock this guy out. I'm gonna, take no prisoners tonight.
I think that Loma, the criticism on that Lopez loss was that he started slow and he gave away some early rounds. And I almost feel like in this fight he was like, "You don't think I'm a fast starter? Watch this," because he jumped on him right from the opening bell. And I think
it was his overall attitude that made him do that, though. Ken.
Yeah,
I really do. And one other thing, he reminded us. He reminded me. I used to say years ago that when he first came around that he had the best legs in boxing. He still has the best legs in boxing. He still has the best. Those dance lessons his father forced him to take when he was a young kid and he didn't like
the Ukrainian
dance.
Yeah,
he didn't like it too much. Well, they there was a reason for it, and they paid off pretty damn good for him. And he showed me once again that he has the best damn legs in boxing. He really does. He did it all, and that's how he got those angles with those legs. Using those legs, those trained, developed legs, those disciplined legs. Spectacular.
I think it was the best he's as good as he's ever looked with the legs. The way he was getting on those angles and cracking, like you said, from different punches, different hands. Nakatani couldn't, every time he would take a deep breath, Loma was on him from different angles, doing different things that we haven't seen too often from Loma. It was awesome. But one thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned about Tank Davis, and we'll get into the whole fight in a minute, but he was actually moving up 2 weight classes from 130 to 140. So I don't think he could make 130 again, but at 135 to fight Loma, yeah. That's a super fight. That's a fight, like I said, I think
that's a good point.
You could charge anything for that fight. I mean, they're already charging $75 to see Tank fight Barrios. Okay, it ended up being a great fight, and Barrios is pretty good, but $75 and Loma's on ESPN Plus against Nakatani. The hardest thing I have about rooting for Tank is this just Ellerby and Mayweather just constantly chirping about him. Like, let the kids fighting talk for itself. It's like, Ellerby says he doesn't.
He talked for himself pretty good the other night.
For sure.
Oh, my goodness.
But in the build-up, you have Leonard Ellerby saying that Tank versus Josh Taylor is like, it's not even worth doing. What does Taylor bring to the table? I'm like, I don't know, 5 belts at 140, like all the belts. He's saying he's not a draw, therefore we're not worried about Tank fighting the best fighters. We're worried about making him the biggest star. Whereas by contrast... you have Lomachenko says they asked him about something about money, and he said, why are you talking to me about money? I don't care about money. I care about legacy and being great. I want to fight the best people available. And the problem is I just don't think the best people want to get in there with him. He took a concession to fight Lopez. I don't think he has a chance in hell of getting a rematch with them. I just can't see them doing that before they move up to 47. I don't know why they would fight Loma again. But if they did, I
think Bob is working on the father to make that fight. I think the father was there. I didn't hear what was going on because full disclosure, I turned the sound off, and so I didn't listen to any of the commentary. I want to be able to just focus on the fight and my own thoughts of what I'm seeing, and not really be distracted or influenced by any others. So I could do this show for the people out there in the way that I want to do the show, and hopefully the way that they expect me to do the show. So I didn't have the volume on, but obviously I saw Teofimo's father there. There's a reason why his father was there. And then, his father is a bit of a character. I think that that's fair to say. And, he's done a great job with his son. But, I saw when he said, yeah, like he was worried if Loma would win or not. Like he wanted Loma to win. Like, okay, good. I saw him do. I don't know what that was partly about, or all about, or a little bit of not about. I don't know, but I know that he was making you think by doing that he's working on a deal with Arum to get the rematch, and like, okay, Loma won, he did his part. Okay, good, he's safe. He's there for us to fight. Okay, that's kind of the message he was trying to give you. So don't be so quick to think that rematch can't be made or won't be made. Of course, that's what Loma wants. He wants that badly. So listen, it is about the money too, and to the credit of Teofimo and his people, they're getting tremendous money in that Triller. The fight was postponed, but the money that he's getting in that Triller fight is way above what that fight's worth. So credit to to what the market would be. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
For what the market would bring for that fight, he's getting paid way above that. And listen, good form that he can get it. Like I always say, any fighter can't get enough money from me. Can't pay him enough because of the risk that they're putting on the line every time they get in that ring, where they can come out of that ring with less of themselves, and they often do. So good for them. Get as much money as you can, and but then after that, I would, that would be besides seeing Loma, I would love to see Loma and Tank Davis, but I love to see Teofimo too in a rematch. That would be great too. So that's a possibility too. But
yeah,
I'll let you take us to officially to the Tank Davis fight.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. I just wanted to touch quickly on the co-main on ESPN. We had Rob Brant in against the undefeated Kazakh killer, and I'm going to butcher this name, Janibek Alimkhanuly.
Yeah, that's good. For me, that's great. You did it good.
Thank you. Rob Brant in tough, and man, the Kazakh really put it on him. He looked awesome, the young kid. I think he moves to 9-0. I'll check that. But what'd you see in the fight while I'm checking that? What'd you think?
Listen, he took him apart. We'll talk about Loma taking apart his guy.
Alimkhanuly?
Yeah, Alimkhanuly. Say that 20 times straight. Alimkhanuly.
He moves to 10-0 with 6 knockouts.
He just dominated that fight against Brant, who's a former world champion, former WBA champion. He didn't stay champion.
26-1 coming into the fight.
Yeah.
18 knockouts.
And listen, again, full disclosure, I said it earlier with the Loma fight. I didn't have the sound on, but I know what I'm watching. And I see that they had McIntyre, Crawford's terrific trainer, in the corner. And that must have been a little bit of a story because they kept going to him. But he wasn't able to help Brant because his foe, Alimkhanuly, was just so solid. Nothing flashy, like I say, nothing neon talent, but just solid. Always set to punch. And I would think, I have no idea what the commentators were saying during this fight, but I know what I think they should have been saying. And maybe they were. Maybe they were saying, maybe the fans are going to say, Teddy, that's exactly what they said. I don't know. But there was only one thing to say for me, right from the beginning all the way through to the fight was stopped, was obviously that Alimkhanuly Alimkhanuly was in charge, but more importantly, he was in charge because he was doing a tremendous job of timing. I'll say it again, timing. You want a lesson on timing? Just watch him. He did a tremendous job of timing Brant all night long. He was set. He was ready. While Brant was wasting movement, moving, doing things, he was set. He was timing him. He timed him with counters when he came in. And when Brant went out, he timed him with left hands. And then when he stood still and just waited and tried to figure it out, he timed him again, standing still. He timed him so much that Brant must have felt like a wristwatch. He must have felt like a watch after a while because he got timed to death all night long, and that's all it was about. Again, I didn't hear the broadcast, but I'd be surprised if that's not what they talked about because they're smart guys, and it was just that's all it was about. The other guy moving a little too much and trying to be whatever he was trying to be, it didn't matter. He didn't stand a chance because this guy was set, and every time Brant made a move, he got timed. He got time when he went left. He went time when he went right. He went time when he went straight, when he went back, when he went forward. I mean, Alimkhanuly had a hell of a time that night doing what he was doing. He was just solid, and he won the fight doing that. And it goes again to my point that I make where it's not about the neon talents. He's not a real fast guy. He's not a flashy guy. He's not a guy that's got the flashy footwork or, any flashy talent to say for one area. He's talented in being steady, being dependable, being calm. He has good eyes, good vision, where he was able to see what he had to see to be able to time Brant the way he did. Again, not one department where you say, hey, he's got spectacular talent. He's just a solid guy, and that is talent. That is talent, being solid. And he was impressive, just an impressive display of sharpshooting and timing by him all night long.
Yeah, towards the end, they were throwing it to the corner and looking at Bomac because they were waiting for him to stop the fight, which he eventually did. But yeah, good victory for the Kazakh fighter. We'll look curious to see where he goes from here, but he looked pretty damn good. That brings us to the Tank Davis fight. Tank Davis basically puts it on Barrios. It was a very competitive fight early on. I mean, I think through halfway it looked pretty even. Barrios, I think, was giving him more trouble than he thought. Again, Tank moving up 2 weight classes for this fight. But in the end, Tank's just too much, too strong, too powerful. The knockdowns at the end, I think he knocked him down 3 times in that last round, finally stopping him with a vicious body punch. Tank looked awesome. Tank looked exactly the way we expected him to look. I think the fight was competitive enough that he's getting those step-up fights where he's getting slightly better competition, maybe a little slower than some people would like in terms of the step-ups. But again, moving up 2 weight classes and getting the win, stoppage. Congratulations to Tank and the team. What'd you like?
Everything. He was tremendous. Just like I love Loma, I love Tank Davis that night. He was tremendous. And it was a coming out party for a lot of the uneducated. And I'm not knocking anyone, but for a lot of the people that didn't know how good he was, for a lot that might have thought that Tank Davis is just a walking strong guy, good puncher. No, he's a lot more than that. He showed that. He's a well-rounded, skilled fighter that knows how to fight and knows how to fight in a lot of dimensions. Just like Loma, he's elusive. Just like Loma, he makes you miss and creates opening. Just like Loma, he's explosive. He's a bigger puncher than Loma, more of a natural puncher than Loma, but he's a guy that sets up clean shots like Loma does, and he's a guy that closes the gap. Not too many people can close the gap that quick on a guy. Goes 0 to 60 like a sports car. I mean, he closes that gap, and Loma closed that gap on his opponent, and this is exactly what Tank did on Barrios. When it was, that's how he scored that first knockdown with the right hook. He closed that gap with that right hook so fast, so quick. He reminded me of a young Pacquiao. Pacquiao used to do that, where he could run red lights and where he could get away with it, where he could just close a gap. You leave a little open, whop, he's right on you, pop, right on you before you have a chance to blink an eye, before you have a chance to react. And Loma does the same thing, and that's exactly what Tank did. And he doesn't get enough credit for that. And I'm going to make sure he gets the credit for it on this show because he earned it. He deserves it. He can counterpunch. He could go walk you down. He can do a lot of things. I don't know. I'm not trying to knock no one, but I'm trying to tell the truth. And if that gets if people get in the way of the truth, then they that's what happens. They get in the way of it, and they become a little bit of collateral damage. I could give two dawns at this. I never did in my life really care about, I try to be a gentleman. I try to be respectful all the time. But I also think that at the end of the day, it's not about being on the fence. It's not about howling for your meals like I think a lot of broadcasters do, or it's about, making a promoter happy or filling an agenda so you survive your job and you keep your job. I think it's about giving the audience the truth. Really, I think it's about giving your audience the truth and let the cards fall where they may, as long as you do that. And so I'm listening to the broadcast. I got there a little late because I was jumping from Loma. So I got there a little late after maybe 4 rounds, whatever it was, I forget. And so I'm catching up. And the scorers they have, they got them way behind. And I'm watching, I said, oh, wow, he's way behind. And now listen, Barrios looked good. Barrios was trying to fight the fight he needed to on the outside, use his length, use his height, use his jab to set up and get full extension on his punches where he wouldn't be in a danger zone of Tank, the shorter man, and of his power. And then take a step back and keep that distance where now maybe you create counter opportunities. You basically do what I used to always say. Make the guy walk through a bad neighborhood and then try to mug him. That's what you try to do when you're a taller guy fighting a guy like Tank Davis. And he was trying to do that. And Barrios had great heart and great focus, and he was prepared really well. And he was fighting a good fight. It was a great fight. I mean, I'm talking a lot about Davis because he was so. I want people to know a lot of people thought he was just a bull in a china shop. You're so wrong. You're so wrong if that's what you thought. He's a complete fighter. But this was just a great fight. It was Ali Frazier. I mean, really, it was Ali Frazier in some ways. It was, nothing quite replaces Ali Frazier. I get it. But I mean, Barrios was Ali, and of course, Tank Davis was Frazier coming in and looking to get to where he had to get to, but doing it so well. And so I hear the broadcasters, at first I'm thinking, oh my God, it's a one-sided fight. And then I watch it for about 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, whatever. I watch it for a short period, and right away, I say to myself, Ken, there's only one man in charge of this fight. I mean, I know Barrios is boxing well, as I said, but the guy that I felt right away that was in charge was a guy named Tank Davis, that he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he needed to do. He was slipping punches. He was looking to create holes for clean shots. He wasn't charging. He wasn't leaping. He wasn't getting frustrated. He knew exactly what he was trying to do. The only thing he could have done maybe a little more was use his jab, but when he used his jab, he did it magnificently. It was accurate. It was effective, because that's what you want to do with a tall guy that's looking to keep you off with a jab. Take his jab away. And Tank did that when he used it. He maybe could have used it a little more. I'm not being critical. I'm just being honest. Maybe, but it's hard. It's hard to be critical at all because he got an A+. How do you critical when a guy gets an A+ on my report card? And Loma, the same thing. If I was critical about Loma at all, and he gets an A+ at all, maybe he could have went to the body a little more. Maybe. But he was hitting the head so much he didn't have to. He didn't have to put water in the basement. But Tank put water in the basement. His his instincts were right. Everything was right. He knew when it was time to go to the body after he scored the knockdown later in the fight. Then what's he do? He knows he's got an opponent that's staying away from him. He knows Barrios trying to stay outside. So what's he do? He goes down to the place that doesn't move, the body, and he puts some water in the basement and he drops him. Beautiful time shot. Sits in the pocket, calm, real calm. And as Barrios is throwing, he throws at the same time. What? He lands the left hand, takes the air right out of the sails. Just beautiful. Not because of the power, not because of the result, because he hurt the guy, because of the way he did it. Because of the way he did it. That's what was so magnificent about both Lomachenko and Davis that night, where it wasn't the results that they got. It wasn't that they won. It wasn't that they knocked out their opponents. It was the way they did it. They did it like great fighters do it, like fighters that know what the hell they're doing. Special fighters with special gifts, with special developed talents. They did it that way. They did it that way. Oh, they took their opponents apart. And again, I'm hearing. I come in a little late, and I'm hearing a comment. And I look at the scorecard, and I see that they got Tank Davis way down. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And I'm watching. I'm saying, wait a minute, this ain't jiving with what I'm seeing. It's just not jiving with it. Maybe I missed. Okay, whatever. But it's as it goes on. I'm watching. I'm saying, this isn't a one-sided fight. This is a fight where it's very close, and I feel that no matter who's winning, even if Davis is down a slight bit because I missed the first couple rounds, a few rounds, but Davis again is in control. Davis is the guy that I had no doubt after watching 20 seconds. Really, Ken, I had no doubt. I know it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, but I'm not. I never have been. You got to trust me. Hopefully my reputation means something and it helps me in those areas. I looked for a short period of time and I saw one guy going to win this fight, and it was going to be Davis. And he was going to win by knockout. He was going to hurt him because that's what he was looking to do, and he knew how to do it. He knew how to freaking do it. He had a wonderful fight plan, and he had the talent and the technique, the teaching to do it. I got to mention this too. Mayweather has done a tremendous job. Like him, hate him, it doesn't matter. Mayweather has done a tremendous job with this kid. He found this kid. He developed this kid from the beginning. And he made this kid a world champion. He brought this kid along beautifully. I don't know how much he had to do with his teaching and training in the gym. It looks like he had something to do with it, to be honest, because the way he slips punches, the way he's a counterpuncher. I know people are going to say, are you crazy, Teddy? Mayweather's a counterpuncher. Tank Davis is a seek and destroy guy. He does that, but he's a counterpuncher. He's an aggressive counterpuncher, like Mike Tyson was an aggressive counterpuncher. He make you miss and he get to you. That's counterpunching. Whether you're coming forward or going backwards or standing still. That's freaking counterpunching for you guys out there that don't know that. That's counterpunching. And Davis has the look of a guy that was helped in the gym too by Mayweather in those areas. Mayweather and his guys, they've done they've done a great job of managing, developing this kid. They really have. And you could see the kid's trying to clean up his image by the way he gave the post-fight, which I give someone credit, him credit, people credit, because you should do that. He did the right thing. He was talking in a much better way, in a much more controlled, just in a way that made sense to be talking. If you want to promote yourself, if you want to get out there, if you want people to follow you, because you have the talent part. Obviously, he's made mistakes, and he's done some things that aren't so great that we've seen that have been out there with him. But you could also see that he's trying to clean that up with his interview, the way he approached it, again, the way he handled it, and I saw that, and I appreciated that he was trying to do that, and I think it's smart. But I came here to give credit to two fighters today, Lomachenko and Tank Davis, the credit that they deserve for being special and why they're special. And for Tank Davis, in this case, being more than just a good puncher, more than just a strong guy, a physical guy, a short guy, a bull of a guy. No, he's much more than that. If he's a bull, he's the smartest bull I ever saw. And, he did a tremendous job with another undefeated fighter, Barrios. I know Barrios hasn't been in there with the greatest fighters in the world or the greatest competition in the world, but Barrios knows what he's doing, and he showed that, especially for most of the fight. He showed that, and Davis knew what he was doing, and he showed that. He did a tremendous job.
Yeah, so Tank, if you had your druthers, who would you prefer to see Tank in with next if you had the following three choices? Devin Haney, Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia.
Lomachenko. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, it's the mad bomber. It's the bomber, even though he's a smart bomber. I just said that, but it's the bomber against the bomb squad that has to take apart that bomb, has to disarm that bomb. It's the bomber versus the bomb squad, the disarming team that gets sent out by squad to disarm bombs. Can Loma disarm this bomber? Can he disarm him? He's disarmed other bombers. He has. He's disarmed other great punches in his record, in his past, getting to those 3 titles, getting to that reputation of pound for pound, the best in the world. He's done that. Can he do it with this guy who's not just a bomber, but an undefeated champion? And he's done it with undefeated champions. But can he do it with an undefeated champion who's everything I just said he was, who's similar to Loma in a lot of ways, in cerebral ways, in talent ways, in explosive ways, of closing a gap, of making you miss, of being elusive, of making adjustments. It would be Loma with his ability to disarm a puncher, trying to disarm this puncher at the same time trying to dominate him with his own arsenal, his own offense, in a way that doesn't get him in trouble, because you can't make a mistake with a puncher like Davis. And it would be tremendous theater. It really would. And I don't want to see it a couple of years from now when Loma's too old. I want to see it now, if we're going to ever see it. But you're not. No. Because of what I scream about on this show. Honestly, that you have the different promoters. You don't have a national commission. You don't have a czar. You don't have a Dana White saying who's going to fight who for the sake of the sport, for the sake of the fans. You don't have that. You don't have it. You have these power promoters. There's 3 or 4 of them in the world. That's it. And they're going to control their little piece of property with their sugar daddies, the network that gives them the money and keeps their guys undefeated so they can tell their sugar daddies, see, he's undefeated. See how great he is. See how great I am. See? And, and they don't care about anything else. So they're not going to go across the street. PBC and Aram are not going to get together and Top Rank and make that happen. It's not going to happen. So you're not going to. It's just another great fight. Add it to the list. Just, Spence and Crawford's not the only one. Just add it to the list. Can you
imagine that Spence and Crawford fight's a fight we're never going to see? And I'm afraid this is the same thing here with Tank and Loma. But maybe we get that because of the affiliations. Maybe we get Loma Lopez too. Maybe. And maybe we get Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney both with the zone. Maybe. That would be a great fight too.
Well, Ryan Garcia got to get back in the saddle. He got to get back. Yeah. He had his moment where he took off. Okay. God bless him. Well, we want him to be okay mentally. We want him to be healthy. We want him to be happy. We want him to be right. So he took his time off. He did the right thing for himself, we would have to say, understanding that whatever that was, that he needed time off because of whatever he was dealing with from an emotional, mental standpoint. But now that he's back, and we pray that he's okay, and he wouldn't be back if he wasn't, we have to say, right? So now that he's back and he's saying he's back, and we want to see him in there with meaningful fights. You know, he had his big fight with Campbell. That was a big one. But now we want to see him take that next step. You know, I know he's a young kid. They're all young. Tank's young. He's young.
Devin Haney's young.
Haney is young. They all are. They're young and talented. But we want to see him fight more meaningful fights now than they had been. So, it was, I tell you, it was terrific seeing what he did. Davis, you know, with everything that I just said about him, with all the accolades that I just threw at him, and threw at Loma too. They're very similar. Like I said, they have good vision, very good eyes. Him and Loma. You can't do those things if you don't see those things. You have to have that kind of special vision, calm in the storm, kind of like Tom Brady or Joe Montana or Peyton Manning. You know, that they see the whole field. They see everything that other people don't see. And that's what Davis and that's what Loma do. They see the whole field. They see things that other people don't see. And they're able to execute at a higher level because of that. It was terrific. It was two terrific fights. Really was. I'm glad that they were at least spaced far enough apart, you know, by accident, whatever. I don't know. Sometimes these promoters, they try to go up against each other, so you have to make a decision which one you're going to make. They don't care. You know, they don't even care. They do it, that old thing like they bite off their nose to spite their face. They really, they don't care. They don't care. They just put on the same, and the fans, too bad. But in this case, you got a little lucky because you missed a little bit, like I said, of Tank if you watch Loma first, but you could wind up seeing both.
Yep. Every time I think
And one other thing I got to say, another reason why the people have the image of Tank Davis, I think, to not giving him enough credit for being a complete fighter he is they see how short he is, they see how punch, obviously the power, and they hear his name. Tank. Oh, he's Tank. Oh, he's Tank. He's just a tank. No, he's a lot more. If he is just a tank, he's a damn good tank. He's a damn good tank, and a smart tank.
I was going to say, every time I think about events going head to head, I think about the UFC and going up against Canelo and Kovalev and Oscar having to, when Canelo was still with Oscar, having to capitulate to the UFC and make the fighters wait almost an hour and a half in the locker room to get the UFC crowd over after they watched their UFC pay-per-view. Nevertheless,
I got to say something.
Yeah.
I got to do one other thing, Ken. I hate to do it, but you know what I mean? I hate to do it. My back is hurting. Maybe that's why my back's hurting, because it's trying to keep me from doing it. But I'm going to persevere, right? And I'm going to, I hate to do it. I know that it's going to make some of my favorite people literally choke on their crumpets as I do this. I don't know what time it is. I know they're ahead of us, so maybe we'll get lucky when this comes out. It'll be past breakfast and tea time. I'm not sure, but I don't know, because it might be at tea time with the people I love across the pond in England, in the United Kingdom. But I have to do it. I have to say what I believe, and put your crumpets down for a minute, because I do not want to be the reason that I hear somebody choked on their crumpet and had a serious problem. I don't want that. So put the crumpet down, take a sip of tea, relax for 1 second, make sure you're sitting, and I think Tank Davis would beat Josh Taylor. Oh!
Whoa.
And I got nothing against Josh Taylor. He's a solid guy. He's a really solid guy. He can do it all, he showed that, but he got hurt in the Ramirez fight. I know anybody could get hurt, but I think we kind of looked past it because then he wound up dropping Ramirez twice, so we forgot about it. But he got affected by Ramirez. He was in trouble in spots with Ramirez, and I just think that if Ramirez could get him in trouble, and Ramirez is terrific, he's got all the heart and everything else, and I had picked him to win that fight, and I'm not mad because I was wrong. I give Josh all the credit, and I made crumpets because I was wrong. I made them for my beautiful friends over there across the pond. But I'm just saying what I believe, that Ramirez could hurt him, Tank can hurt him. Ramirez could get him in trouble, Tank could get him in trouble. And if Tank gets him in trouble, he's going to be in a lot more trouble than he is with than he was with Ramirez. And I don't think he's going to catch Tank so easily with those shots. He caught him with a sucker uppercut. Hey, he got careless. He got relaxed on the inside. You're not supposed to do that. And what happened? He gets dropped with an uppercut. He also got caught with a beautiful counter left hand from the southpaw Josh Taylor as he was rushing in a little bit. Taylor beautifully countered him with the left hand counter, catching him getting careless. I don't know that he's gonna catch. I don't know that he's gonna catch Tank with those shots. And if he can't, and he can't keep him on the outside, and Taylor gives you a chance to get inside anyway because he's a fighter. He's gonna engage with you. I think my money's on Tank. And again, I hope nobody's choking right now. Really, I hope nobody's doing the Heimlich right now on any of my beautiful friends over there across the pond. And if you have to, listen, this is how you got to put you got to put your fist underneath the diaphragm. Get behind them. Put your fist underneath the diaphragm, and then pull real quick, real short, and get that crumpet out of the passageway. Yeah, get it out. I love you guys over there. I love you. You know that. I do. But that's what I feel. I say what I feel. I back it up with what I think is stuff that makes sense. And for me, I just gave you the stuff that I think makes sense of why I could make a case. Why I could make a case for Davis, and that's another fight you're never going to see anyway. So,
I was going to say, you're getting them all hyped up.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. But I do feel that way. And if I felt something else, I would say something else too. Whatever it was, if it was for Taylor, I would say. And I think Taylor's a good, solid fighter, terrific. There's no doubt about that. But that's how I feel about that. And one other thing that I'll say that'll make some other people hate me too, because I might as well keep it even, get as many people out there to hate me as I can all in one shot. And that's the judges out there and the scorers and the people that do some of these fights. None of us are perfect. None of us. I get it. And sometimes it really is too subjective. It's very subjective to sport, how you can score it and all that stuff. But it's supposed to be a criterion of who lands the harder, more consequential telling punches. Who lands the most effective punches, not who throws more, who lands the most. And I just think, to the point of where some people might have had, where judges look at the way they look at things, and you try to understand how people are thinking when they do certain things and what they're looking at, how they're thinking. And I believe I know how sometimes judges are thinking to get bad decisions, where, like in the case of a Barrios, where some guys would have Barrios ahead, where maybe I wouldn't, but where you're seeing the tall guy and you're seeing a picture that's been painted for you, that's been given to you since you're probably young, where a tall guy with a shorter guy should be on the outside, should be using his jab, should be controlling range, should be controlling distance. You see that, and you're comfortable with it. Because you've seen it. You've been told that's the way to do it. That's the way it's done. It's the conventional way. It's the conventional picture that you've been given. A tall, just a tall, basic boxer. He's on the outside with a shorter boxer, an aggressive fighter, and he's using the jab. And soon as you see that, soon as that connects into your cerebral consciousness, you say, yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. So he must be winning. And you don't look further. You don't look to see what the shorter guy's doing to overcome that taller jab, that longer jab, that taller conventional, statuesque boxer. Where he looks everything the way that a boxer's supposed to look, the way that you're taught and told a boxer should look. So you're not seeing that the other guy's slipping and shooting shots to the body or stepping in with the guy as he goes back and closing the gap and doing things and making a miss. You just see that he's doing what you've been given a picture of since you were young in this sport, where he's being a boxer. He's being what he's supposed to be. He looks good. He's got the jab working, and automatically you're kind of giving him rounds. It's almost like you don't realize. It's like, yep, he's doing that. Yep, he's winning the rounds. And you're missing sometimes. I think that these judges are missing sometimes that there are other things that can be done to counter that advantage of being tall. And I think sometimes you do get kind of led by the nose, where you've been told this. You've been taught this. You've heard this for years, and you kind of just get led into that, and you follow that. Where and you start giving rounds just on that, unless something crazy happens, like the guy catches him, like Tank did, and he drops the guy. So I think sometimes the reverse happens, where sometimes you'll get judges that if a guy's aggressive, again. Oh, he's aggressive. He's got to be winning. No, he doesn't. Maybe he's missing. Maybe the punches are being blocked. Maybe he's not being effective when he's aggressive. Maybe he's just coming in, but he's not being effective. And you're giving him rounds. So sometimes I think that these judges, they should be taught better. They should be given more classes. They really should, but they're not. They get these little things, but it's not enough. They really need to be given training, proper training, follow-up training, where they're brought into more than one seminar and where these things are gone over, like I go over on the podcast here, that they go over and that you make sure these guys understand what we're talking about here. That you don't just give rounds because a guy's aggressive and you were brought up in a way where if a guy's aggressive, he has the edge. Or a guy's on the outside using a jab. So you were brought up in a way where if a guy's on the outside with a smaller guy jabbing, he must be winning. No, you got to look beyond that. So I think that's part of the phenomena of bad decisions, of why we part of it. Sometimes it's corruption. Yeah, I hate to say that, but sometimes it is. But when sometimes it's just, being incompetent, I think it falls onto the category of what I just talked and touched on.
Yeah, that was excellent. I'll tell you, we were talking about all these young guys in fights we're clamoring to see. Well, it's nice to see that one of these fights is actually being made. I know you've been looking forward to this. Oscar De La Hoya is going to fight Vitor Belfort, former UFC light heavyweight champ, on September 11th on Triller. A fight everyone's been looking for. Talk to me. What are you looking forward to most in this fight?
The day after.
We've got two guys that the drug testing protocol should probably be much different for both of them. We've got Vitor Belfort, who's been widely known or associated with PEDs, and Oscar De La Hoya, who's been widely connected with recreational drugs, to say the least. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of protocol they have in place for testing for this fight.
Oh, boy, I don't know if there is a protocol that can handle
Those are going to be expensive tests to get a test for all those substances. When you do those tests, you got to test for every substance.
You just answered it, though. There's going to be no test because there'd be no fight if there was a test. So there's going to, remember that line from the first Rocky? Ain't going to be a rematch. Don't want one.
Yeah.
ain't going to be a rematch. Don't want one. Ain't going to be no testing. Don't want one. That's don't want no testing. Don't want none. Okay, no problem. So, listen, what can I say? Oh, my goodness. I don't know. Why is De La Hoya doing it? Is he doing? He's made so much money. I don't think it's for the money. I don't know. Nobody knows anyone else's home until they live in that home. So you don't know what's behind the doors if he needs money. I don't think he does. I think he needs attention. I said it a long time ago. I'm not trying to knock him, but it's going to come out this way. What can I do? But he needs a dog.
Yeah.
He needs a dog. He needs a puppy. Because sometimes really it's the greatest thing you can do for somebody that's sad and somebody that's having emotional issue. And I think it's it's a far stretch that I'm saying things that anyone else can't figure out. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't have to be Dr. Phil to say that I just got some emotional stuff going on. I mean, after the way he went on the broadcast of that fight with whatever
what a
that
car
was.
crash.
I mean, God Almighty.
I
mean,
can't
don't
believe
think,
no
again,
one jumped in and was like, Oscar, stop.
Yeah,
You're too
yeah,
banged up. We can't
that's
have
where you
on
need
camera.
a referee, like the great Mills Lane. Remember, he was so great. Where they come in and no more.
Yeah.
Like just put his arm around him. That's it, son. It's over tonight, son. No, but I want to go on. No, it's over, son. It's
You're too banged
it's
up.
done. You're too banged up, son. I'm looking out for you, son. You'll understand someday. But again, you hope that it's not for the money, but it's probably maybe for attention. That De La Hoya needs attention. That again, he needs something. He needs something to define him. He needs something to make him relevant. Maybe he went through some tough things losing Canelo. Listen, he brought it on himself, it sounds like. So I'm not trying in any way, to make excuses for him, but it was tough losing the biggest fighter, I guess, the biggest star. I think it's fair to say probably the biggest star. Maybe you could say Fury is a huge star too, especially if he beats Wilder again. But I think it's fair to say Canelo's probably the biggest star, or if not the biggest, right there in boxing. And he loses him. His promotional company loses him. So he's gone through the ringer. He's gone through the emotional ringer. And again, doing the stuff that obviously it looks like he's doing doesn't help. It doesn't help. Whatever it is that he's ingesting into his body or whatever he's doing, I don't know what he was on that night, but whatever it was, or a mix of whatever was alcohol, or maybe it was just alcohol. I don't know what it was. Because I didn't do a test on him, but obviously he's hurting. Obviously he has been hurting. Obviously he's been in some ways screaming for help. I don't know if this is the help that he needs to get in the ring, to make him relevant again, and to get attention again. I don't know. I don't know that I would let this guy fight. I know that he's not fighting a fighter. He's fighting a former MMA fighter who was a very, very good MMA fighter. Tremendous.
Former champion, UFC.
UFC champ. Doesn't get much better than that. Terrific. Belfort. I mean, tremendous. Good puncher, fast hands, knows how to strike. He's not on the level of a fighter, a boxer, a former champion like De La Hoya. He can't go into the rules that would give him a big edge, which is his domain of going on the floor, where he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and where, of course, he could destroy De La Hoya, and he's physically bigger and stronger than De La Hoya. He's not going to be able to do that. Will he be able to use his strength in a boxing ring with De La Hoya, who's an accomplished fighter, accomplished champion, former champion, but he's old, and De La Hoya has put his body through definitely through some trials, right? There's no doubt about that. So what are we going to get? What are we going to get? We're going to get a way past this prime De La Hoya, who hasn't always probably lived the right life, who's coming back, but he still knows how to box in his sleep better than a Belfort, who I'm taking nothing away from. I'm not criticizing him, because I just said he was a great champion in his domain, in his realm. And part of that was striking, but not to the level, of a top fighter. So people are going to probably watch. They're going to be interested. Probably the best promotion for it is when De La Hoya was blowing up on that broadcast, when it was sad. It was like watching a Jerry Springer show, where these people, it's sad to watch. It's uncomfortable to watch people sometimes, when they go down those roads and they're suffering in that way, and they don't even know what they're doing to themselves, how embarrassing it is. They don't realize it's tough. And maybe that might, as bad as that is, that might be what promotes this fight. People want to see, how will De La Hoya act? Will he implode? Will he beat De La Hoya again? The way he was as a fighter. Can he redeem himself? Or will he just be a mess? Because people stop to watch messes. They stop to watch car accidents, unfortunately. They hold traffic up to watch car accidents, unfortunately. Sometimes that's what happens with people. Really. We're funny. We're funny, us human beings. We're strange. We're good. We're great sometimes, and sometimes we're not as great. Sometimes we're kind of, we can be a little bit weird and not so great. So listen. People are going to watch it, I bet you. I bet you people will watch it.
For sure.
And two older guys that I just broke it down the best I can. I'm sure people watch it. Listen, if De La Hoya, you just said it well, that Belfort, one thing about him is he's in shape, even if it's fortified by something, if it's helped by some supplements, I don't know. But he's in shape. It seems like he takes care of himself from a physical standpoint. De La Hoya hasn't taken care of himself. Will he have enough time to take care of himself, to get in shape? That's all part of the questions. That's all part that's going to sell this thing. If De La Hoya could get in shape, people are going to say, just like they did with the Mayweather fight, with one of the Paul brothers, that the size is going to matter. But if a fighter is right and a fighter knows how to fight, the size don't matter. You can give up 20 pounds, 30 pounds. Obviously, Mayweather, 44 years old, hadn't fought for 4 years. He was still able to handle a bigger guy, because he made a mess, and it doesn't matter, because you know how to fight. And the same thing could be at play here. And that's why I'm saying this, because I know that's going to be part of the questions out there. What about the size, Ted? He's a bigger guy, Belfort. Won't that matter? No, it won't matter if De La Hoya can bring back some of the skills that he once had. I doubt that he can be anywhere close. And of course, he's not going to be close to what he was. But if he can show some of those skills, then the size don't matter so much, because you nullify that. You, as a competent boxer, you nullify the size advantage by making a miss, by knowing how to deal with size, where size doesn't become relevant, where he's not able to use that strength in a way that it's an advantage. So that's it. It's going to be a crazy time again. People are going to watch it, I guess. They should start doing like the football games and having tailgates for these things. They should. Really, that would fit right in. And I bet you somebody just heard me saying they're going to do it. They're going to charge an extra $100 to come to a tailgate before and get blitzed. Right, get all blitzed up, and then watch, whatever it is that takes place in front of you. It's not a football game, but it'll be something.
Belfort can weigh 190. De La Hoya can weigh 175. And from looking at what De La Hoya's looked like in the past, the one thing that he should be doing, if he isn't, is eating Magic Spoon cereal.
There it is.
Instead
There
of
it
some
is.
of the snack foods he's been snacking on, which might not be the healthiest. 0 grams of sugar. It's keto friendly, dairy free. This stuff is the best. Magic Spoon. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. It's my go-to snack nowadays. The kids love it. Teddy, I know you've been loving it.
Well, my grandson loves it. That's all you need to know.
Yep.
My grandson is finicky, like a lot of 3.5-year-olds are, and we can't get him to eat anything but chicken nuggets and French fries sometimes, and grilled cheese sandwich, and sometimes they have carrots, and I'm blessed. I have the greatest grandchildren in the world. I'm so blessed, and the greatest children that are raising them. But he can be finicky, my buddy Joseph, and he eats this. He eats it. He likes it. So that's all you need to know.
My kids have been burning through it as well. And for our listeners, if you use the promo code ATLAS, go to magicspoon.com/ATLAS, ATLAS. You can get $5 off your first order of their variety pack. It's fantastic. Please, if you want to support the show, give this stuff a try. Use the promo code. It goes a long way for us. And with that, Teddy, I hope you have a great 4th of July weekend.
Wait a minute. There's no other carnival acts to talk about. There's no
I'm trying to space them out.
What about the 3-headed lady? I mean, there's what about the snake man? Yeah, you got something for me? Come on, you got to have something else.
I think the bearded lady from the Atlantic City Boardwalk is supposed to fight later in the summer, but we'll get into that at a later date.
There it is, Ken. There it is. Beautiful.
With that, guys, thank you everyone for being with us. We've got some really good stuff coming up. There are some huge fights. We've got some awesome MMA interviews. Israel Adesanya, Leon Edwards. The list goes on and on. If you have guys you want us to talk to, hey, we love the MMA guys. We love all the boxers too. So keep the requests coming. And with that, Teddy, thanks for doing this. Have a great weekend next weekend for 4th of July. And,
everybody be safe. Everyone be safe.
Sure.
As Ken said, have a great 4th of July, all of you, and be safe.
That's it. We'll be back with you guys shortly. Have a great rest of the week.